Captain Midnight.
So, when I was like 14, I desperately wanted Batman to be on Smallville. And I definitely wasn't alone. I mean, what Smallville fan wouldn't want to see the show's take on Bruce Wayne fighting alongside the red-blue blur, or whatever dumb thing they were calling Clark Kent that season? But DC always held the Caped Crusader back from the show. The line always was that they didn't want to water down the Batman brand with him on the CW in order to maintain the prestige feeling of the Christopher Nolan movies. I was unhappy about that at the time, but I always understood the logic of it, at least a little bit. More and more though, that 2000s mindset seems to be falling away. Not only do we have Batman showing up in one form or another on the CW, on Titans, and on Harley Quinn, we're also about to see multiple actors play him on the big screen around the same time. It was just announced that Ben Affleck would be putting on the cowl again next to Michael Keaton as the two play different versions of the Dark Knight in the multiverse-centric Flash movie. When you combine that with the massive Snyder Cut edit of Justice League coming out next year, it's hard to deny that Ben Affleck is still a pretty major presence in DC films. But at the exact same time, he's already been replaced, as Robert Pattinson's The Batman draws closer and closer to a release date. Honestly, it's kind of a deeply weird time to be a Batman fan, and I'm not sure that DC is making the best choice with this very odd movie strategy. But I also want to give it a chance, so that's what I'm trying to dig into today. Why this is so strange and kind of exciting at the same time, but also how it could hugely backfire.
He can run, there's no escape. He can...
So before I get into Pattinson or The Flash, I should probably touch on the Snyder Cut a little bit. People have been asking me to make a video about it now for a very long time, but I just haven't felt like I've had that much to say about it. That was until this new Affleck news at least. Now, I'm glad that Snyder's actual vision for the film will be available, but I'm not exactly looking forward to it. Look, if you can't wait to see the Snyder Cut, that's great. I'm not trying to begrudge you of that at all. But at the same time, he's just never been a filmmaker that's done much for me. That being said, if you've watched my older Batman or Justice League videos, you'll know that I always thought there was a ton of potential in Affleck's take on the character. There's a real melancholy sadness to his performance as Bruce Wayne that just makes him feel a lot older and a lot more world-weary than most takes on the characters have been in live action. And I think with the right script, that could be amazing. I've never disliked Affleck as an actor or been super against him playing Batman, so I would love to see him live up to that potential, and hopefully the Snyder Cut can provide that. And until this week, I just figured that would be the end of Batfleck. Maybe he'd get to go out on a higher note than the theatrical cut of Justice League, but definitely nothing beyond that. But this Flash movie opens up some interesting possibilities. Will this be the last appearance of Ben Affleck in the role? It's probably too early to tell. Maybe he only agreed to come back like Harrison Ford in The Force Awakens, to kill his character off and sail off into the sunset. Who knows? But honestly, if this movie is really well received, and that is a big if, I don't see why they wouldn't have him return for more films. Or set up a Batman Beyond franchise for Michael Keaton, who would be absolutely perfect for that right now. There's a ton of possibilities, and since they've got two past Batman in the film, I wouldn't be surprised if they were desperately trying to lock in Christian Bale as well. This would be kind of shocking to me if it actually happened, because Bale and Nolan seem to have gone to great lengths to make their trilogy feel like a totally standalone work. But I'm sure Warner Brothers would love to have the best received version of the character slotted into this somehow. Maybe even Clooney could cameo, who knows? All of this is a ton of fun to speculate about. It's honestly the only reason I'm looking forward to a movie starring Ezra Miller's pretty grating take on Barry Allen. But now, we need to talk about the elephant in the room, Matt Reeves' The Batman. Put yourself in the headspace of Robert Pattinson. Not by blowing up a microwave, but by thinking about the position he's in right now with the character. A year or two ago, it looked like the deck had been completely cleared. He was the new Bruce Wayne, and the franchise was comfortably his. Now though, he's playing Batman in one movie over the next few years, while Ben Affleck is playing him in two. Sure, maybe counting the Snyder Cut as cheating, but it's getting a ton of press, and if there's as much new footage in it as everyone claims, I think that basically counts as a new film. And not only that, but Keaton is back too. So in a very short amount of time, you've gone from the heir to the Batman mantle to one of many Batmen on screen in a very small span of time. And that's gotta suck at least a little, right? I would probably look at Jared Leto getting hugely overshadowed as the Joker and feel a little nervous. Now, if the Batman comes out and is a well-received hit, he probably has nothing to worry about. Still, I think it's strange that DC is okay with throwing just so many Batmen out there and hoping that some connect. Sure, they've recast the character many times, but you never had Val Kilmer having to worry about a Keaton Batman movie coming out the same year as Batman Forever. Maybe that's a bit of a stretch since this is a Flash movie, but it honestly kind of reminds me of Roger Moore starring as James Bond in Octopussy, the same year that Sean Connery reprised the role in Never Say Never Again. But where that situation came about because Warner Brothers found a legal loophole that allowed them to get the rights to one James Bond book, which enraged United Artists who produced the rest of the Bond series, this is all being done in-house by the exact same studio. Apparently, they're just not that worried about the idea that having multiple people playing Batman year in and year out could create less excitement around the character. And who knows, maybe they're right, people love Batman. But I really do think you risk undercutting Pattinson by having Batfleck still around. But if you like Affleck's take on Bruce, you might be like, so what? I don't care. And I get that, but as someone who thinks Pattinson is a great actor and is excited about Matt Reeves' version, it is a little worrying to feel that DC is hedging their bet with Batman all over the place.
If you've always wanted to get your hands on Batman.
Now, in the end, maybe I shouldn't worry. If this was happening in the MCU, it would seem deeply weird, but this is DC, and their strategy ever since Justice League's terrible release seems to be throw everything we can think of at the wall and see what sticks. So you get Aquaman, this breezy adventure movie, right next to Joker. And I think there's something pretty fun to that approach, even if it does sometimes feel like the company's decision making is being run totally randomly with no overall vision in mind. That's not the way Kevin Feige does things over at Marvel, obviously, but if the movies are good, I really have no problem with that. So even if the executives are just throwing things at the wall, if they stick, they stick, and I don't know, maybe that's enough. It's still pretty weird though. Anyway, I always forget to talk about these, but I have some great merch up that you can check out by going to my link in the description. Stickers, pens, and my personal favorite, the mug. Like seriously, I love this mug. So if that interests you, be sure to check them out, and it looks like the warehouse is shipping them again now that things are a little more normal. So yeah, I'll be back next week with a video I'm really excited about, and I will see you then.
Here's a special tip for the fellas and girls who have not already joined Captain Midnight's new 1940 Flight Patrol. You'd better hurry up and join at once because there's a big adventure ahead. The thing to do now is to get started because we're going to have not only barrels of fun, but loads of free gifts and prizes too.